Welcome back to Yerushalmi Terumot. We are Perek Shmini. We are holding Daf Ayin Beis and Beis. Now, we mentioned in the Mishnah there are various cases. Now, what happened? V'kulam shehaya truma l'tech piem. So we had cases where the truma was in the person's mouth. Rav Elazar said you can swallow it. Rabbi Shua said you should spit it out. We brought three examples of people who are apostle to eat truma. And the Gemara says which of the cases we're referring to. We say v'kulam. Oh, Rabbi Yochanan, Ma'apligin, where's the arguments mentioned in the Reish of the Mishnah of Masechet from Rabbi Yeshua? But Eved ve'isha. So an Eved of a Cohen who ate truma, and he finds out he's not an Eved anymore. And a wife of a Cohen who ate truma, and she finds out she's not a wife of a Cohen anymore. So in Masechet from Rabbi Yeshua, what happens? They put the truma in their mouth at the time when they were permitted to eat. Before they swallowed it, the woman becomes divorced. So Rabbi Elazar holds, since they put it in their mouth in a permitted reason, they're allowed to swallow it. Rabbi Shua holds no. At the time of the Isur, now they're also to eat truma. Therefore, they shouldn't swallow it. They should spit it out. Other cases, like the Cohen who ate truma and found out he's the son of a divorcee, after Rabbi Elazar murder, even Rabbi Elazar would agree, since now he knows he's also to eat truma, even though he put it in his mouth before he found out, he cannot swallow it. He has to spit it out. The reason is, in this situation, from the time of birth he was puzzled. He was never permitted to eat truma. So even the beginning of his eating 2 minutes ago was not beheta. Therefore, Rabbi Elazar agrees he's not allowed to swallow the truma, he has to spit it out. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchok. Now, Rabbi Yochanan makes a chiluk between cases where the beginning of the achila was beheta and cases where you find out, even though the beginning was be'isur. So the Gemara explains the raya to this chiluk. From the Mishnah we can learn this difference. It says, there was food in the mouth, but no dashut tevel. He finds out, it's tevel, or it's master rishon shlei nitramasa. Truma has not been taken. Master sheni v'hekdah shlei niftu. In these cases, spit it out. You cannot swallow it. In all these cases, he finds out the things were forbidden to him even before he was eating them. They were forbidden. But Rabbi Elazar doesn't argue on that. He agrees you're not allowed to swallow it. So why then? What's the reason Rabbi Elazar, who argues in the first cases, allows you to swallow it? Why in some cases the wife who became divorced in the middle, she's allowed to swallow it? What's the difference? You have to say the reason is Mishum, because in these cases, even though you find out it's also, but hischil beheta, when you started eating, you were allowed to eat at the beginning, before it became puzzle. So from the words of the Mishnah itself, we can find this chiluk between a case of a wife of a Cohen or an Eved who become puzzle after they put it in their mouth, and then Rabbi Elazar says, look, the beginning of the eating was beheta, when she was the wife of a Cohen, so they can swallow it. And then you have a case of a Cohen who finds out he's a chalal after he put it in his mouth. Now it comes out he was puzzled from the beginning. He was never permitted to eat truma, and therefore even in the beginning of the eating was asur, and therefore Rabbi Elazar agrees he's not allowed to swallow it. He has to spit it out. You get that? So it all depends on when he started eating, was he permitted to eat or not. Turning, now we bring a brayso who argues on our Mishnah and explains Rabbi Elazar slightly differently. Turning Rabbi Elazar, no, Rabbi Elazar says you bring it in your mouth and you find out you can swallow it. Not because of that reason that I've told you. Oh, you started beheta. That's not the reason. Rabbi Elazar said, listen to this. When you bring truma in your mouth, and now you find out, I can't eat it, he says you can swallow it. Why? Because halos, the chewed food, is considered as swallowed. Kabalua. You hear that? The chewed food is as if it's already swallowed. Rabbi Elazar treats the food that's been chewed about in your mouth like a food already swallowed. So you don't have to spit it out when you find out it's a problem, because it's already chewed, it's considered already swallowed. So according to this, even in the cases where the beginning of the eating was be'isur, Rabbi Elazar says, look, it's in your chewed mouth, you don't have to spit it out. Okay? So it comes out different to what we said, according to the brayso. The dinner of Rabbi Elazar was said not only for things like Eishes Cohen who found out in the middle, after you put it in the mouth, no. Even a Cohen who finds out it's a halal. He was never kosher to eat truma, but he's put it in his mouth. Now we find out it was be'isur. He doesn't have to spit it out because it's already chewed.
So it's very good anyway.
It's considered already chewed. Now we bring other dinim where we have mashmos to the reason of Rabbi Elazar that a chewed food is considered swallowed, and we find Shabbos came. With Shabbos we find this. A chewed food is like swallowed. So if you chew a food, and it's also because of Isuri Shabbos, and then you find out that it's also, you don't have to spit it out. After Pesach came, same thing with chametz. A chewed food is like swallowed. If you swallow food on Pesach, when you find out it's chametz, you don't have to spit it out. But after Yom Kippurim came, the same with eating food on Yom Kippur. After Nazir came, same thing with Isuri Nazir, that a chewed food is like swallowed. So if you chew the grapes in his mouth and then he riz, he's a Nazir, he doesn't have to spit them out. After Nevedas came, also with Neveda. After Travis came. After Shgadsim came, with insects. After Ramosim came. So all these Isurim, a chewed food is considered absorbed and swallowed. So if you chew a food in your mouth and then he finds out it's also because of any reason, he doesn't have to spit it out. In all these cases, according to the Mishnah, if the beginning of the eating was Be'isur, usually, you can't swallow it. But according to this Brisa, a chewed food is already swallowed, even though he was never permitted to eat it. Once it's chewed, he's allowed to swallow it. Okay? Now, Rav Chia, now we mentioned about the issue of eating insects. The Gemara brings Rav Chia Shem Rabbi Yochanan, Hashrecha behema. You slaughter an animal, Mozabah shekets, you find in the lung, let's say a type of worm, Asabachid, you can't eat it. Malta, what's the source of this? It says, Behema, an animal in an animal you should eat. Only an animal found in an animal you can eat. But an insect found in an animal, you can't eat it. Oh, Rav Yosha, he asked, Ma Beina, what difference is there between that? Lebein Zizin Shevadoshim. It seems types of insects, minuscule insects, which are found on lentils, Aliatushin Biklisin, other insects found on types of pulses, various worms in the dates, Shabagregras, where they are permitted to be eaten. Various types of things, as we'll see in the Brisa. Now the din is an insect. We're talking here about an insect that was born and grew inside the fruit and has never left the fruit. In such a case, you're allowed to eat it. If the insect
with a worm in the lung,
I'm not these cases we're asking the differences. I'm just saying when the cases where it's permitted, it's where the insect was actually born inside the fruit and grew up in the fruit and has never left the fruit. An insect born and grew outside a fruit and goes inside, or born and grew inside but then left and went for a holiday and then came back, then that's also to be eaten, right? So shkasim found in lentils, or the dates ones, are permitted. They're born inside the fruit and they've never left it. That's what so we're not talking about what we find in dates. We're not talking about that. Here we're talking the ones that are permitted are insects that grew inside the fruit and have never left the fruit. Okay? The insects in the lung are also, they grew outside the body and then went through the nose into the lung. You understand? They didn't grow inside the lung. Okay, so we're asking, what's the difference? Tamam, over there with insects and the lentils, they're born inside the fruit, and therefore they never left their permitted to be eaten. But here, it doesn't come from the animal itself, it comes from outside. The fish stew, which you find in Murias, which is this sort of fish stew, and there's blood of fish mixed with it. As long as it's all mixed and you can't actually see the blood, sorry, it's okay. It's permitted. Remember, fish blood is permitted, but not really when it's on its own. It's in the mixture, it's okay. From the time that it becomes clear and you can see the fish blood, also then you can't eat it. Dam ala kika, you find a bit of bread on a loaf of bread. Sorry, blood on a loaf of bread. Let's say the person bites it and some blood goes on the loaf. Gerda, you should rub it away, but you can eat the rest. If it was blood coming from your teeth and it's not actually left your mouth yet, you can eat it and you don't have to worry. So this blood here, if it's coming from, now this dam shalai pirish, right? Blood that's not come away, like the dam blood from between the teeth is not forbidden to be eaten. Because people don't see that you're like sucking blood. They're not going to think that dam behema is permitted. Some say the blood between the teeth is mutter because everyone can see it's not dam behema, it's dam adam. Maybe you can even squeeze blood from your finger, according to this opinion. because everyone can say it's not blood of an animal, it's blood of a person coming from a finger. Alright, let's carry on. Not of a person. It's Gezerah because of Dam Behema. So what we got here? Now we come back to the is of eating shkotzim. Okay, we've learned that insects that are grown inside the fruit are permitted. Now we discuss this now. Tani, hazizin, ubazbuzin, the higzin, types of insects, which are growing inside the fruit. Now, had the Torah just said, all the insects which are shorets, shekets, are you mustn't eat, Yachal, I might think they're forbidden bisman chain beperi when they're still in the fruit. Talmud Loma, it says no. It says, shekets hain, we learn the issur is only bisman chain bepnei when they're independent. Lo bisman sheperi, not when they're in a fruit. Had the Torah said this, Yachal, I might think afilu yatsu, even if the insects left the fruit, and they went back inside, with shekets hain, Talmud Loma is what it says, shekets hu. Shekets, we learn the issur is all insects which are shoretz on oretz, afilu yatsu, even if they left the fruits v'chazru and they went back. Now we've learnt in the Brisa insects growing inside the fruit and they've gone away and come back are also. Afilu yatsu, even if they left from the inside, and they stood on the edge of the food, on the outer shell, on the outer peel, and then they went back in, v'chazru ha'reilu asurin, they are forbidden. Yeah, not when it's gone elsewhere, but even if it's still on the outer skin, it is forbidden.
Like a worm, basically.
Yeah. You slaughter an animal, you find a fetus looking like a pig. Even though it's the the thing is permitted. But if you find it was yaina, if you find it looking like a dove or something, although it's a kosher bird, asur b'achila, it is forbidden. Matam, what's the source for this? It says every animal, we learn an animal inside an animal after shchita is mutter. Not a bird that's found inside an animal. Not an insect found inside an animal. So if you slaughter a behemoth tahira and you find a behemoth, even though it looks like a behemoth tamea, like chazir, it's permitted. But if it looks like a bird, it is forbidden. We said, if a Cohen is eating truma and he thinks, wait a minute, there's something bad tasting in my mouth. There's like some sort of insect or something with his truma. You should spit it out. Now the Mishnah says, no, the mixture of truma with this insect was also, according to everyone, he couldn't swallow it. He should spit it out. Not only he's spitting it out from his mouth, not in a case where you notice the flavor of this insect, which is forbidden. Anything where you just feel sick about. Even though it's not issur, you're allowed to spit out the truma from your mouth. You don't have to worry that you are making truma lose out. Halacha base. Now we bring other arguments between Rav Lezer and Yeshua, where something was permitted and then things changed. Now fruit which is not taken ma'aser, you can eat it in a temporary nature before you bring it into your courtyard. Once it goes into the courtyard, then even if it's just, or Shabbos comes in as well, either it's gone in your courtyard or Shabbos has come, then everything is fixed for ma'aser, you cannot eat it a temporary eating. So it's Haya Eichel B'Eshbol. Let's say you're eating a temporary food in Eshbol, Eshkol, a bunch of grapes, let's say in a garden. You're eating a bunch of grapes, a cluster of grapes, in a garden where there's no ma'aser obligation. But v'nechnas, while you're eating, you go minagina lachatze, you go into the courtyard, which does fix a ma'aser obligation. Rabbi Lezer Omer Yigmor, he says carry on eating, you don't have to take ma'aser. Rabbi Shua Omer Lo Yigmor, he says no, you mustn't finish. You can't finish. You have to take ma'aser first. Or if you're eating the cluster of grapes, not ma'aser on Friday, but Hashecha Lele Shabbos, and Shabbos comes in. Shabbos brings its own ma'aser obligation. Rabbi Lezer Omer Lezer says you can carry on eating Ad Yigmor until you finish the whole thing. Rabbi Shua Omer Lo Yigmor, Rabbi Shua says no, you mustn't. Now we said, once you bring in the courtyard, it has a ma'aser obligation. Now, what about a tree that grew in a courtyard? A fig tree that grows in a courtyard, you can take one by one, and you don't have to take ma'aser. If you take, let's say, in your hand 2 figs or more, then you have to take ma'aser. So we bring a Mishnah over there. This is a Mishnah in Yerushalmi Halacha Daled, okay, Maisrus. Taman Tanion, in Maisrus we've learned, the vine is actually in the courtyard. V'noitel is kol ha'eshkol. You can take the cluster and eat from it normally. You don't have to take ma'aser. The same pomegranate or whatever, watermelon, whatever, you can take these things and eat it. You don't have to take Ma'aser Divrei Reb Tarfon. That's Reb Tarfon's view. Reb Zira Reb Chiya B'Shem Reb Yochanan, he said, Reb Tarfon, he said it could be, I can explain this, Reb Tarfon one of two ways. Reb Tarfon said you can go and eat this cluster, right, from this tree. So Reb Tarfon could show Reb Lezer. Maybe he was like Reb Lezer and Mishnah, that since you started Beheta, you can finish the lot. So Reb Tarfon allowed you to take all the clusters in the courtyard, even though by joining them together, because the first grape you could eat, so you can eat the lot. It could be Reb Tarfon, maybe, I say he treats, maybe he treats the end of the eating like its beginning. The end of the cluster and its beginning are like one fruit. So it allowed you to gather everything without taking Ma'aser, because one fruit has no Ma'aser obligation. You hear that? So either he holds, since you've started, you can carry on. I've started, so I'll finish, is a phrase in common society, yeah? Or maybe he is saying here that the first bite is like the last bite. Basically, it's all one bite. That's another way of looking at it. Rav Ila, Rav Yasa, B'Shem Rav Yochanan, Reb Tarfon, Reb Lezer, he says this is a different version of Yochanan. Either Reb Tarfon is like Reb Lezer, that, you started Beheta, you can carry on. Reb Tarfon, maybe Reb Tarfon, I say, he treats Achila Achas, one eating. Two or three eatings, Achila Achas, like one eating. So a cluster which has got many eatings is considered as one fruit. And there's no tziruf to obligate Ma'aser. So it's a similar way of looking at it. It's slightly different wording, but it's the same idea. So either because you've started, you can finish, or all the eating is considered one. Now, what's the reason of Reb Lezer in the two cases here? When you eat the cluster in your garden, and you end up in the courtyard, Reb Lezer says you can carry on eating. What's his reason? You started Beheta in the courtyard, therefore you can finish it, even though you've gone into the courtyard. Now the Gemara brings a brisa which explains words Reb Lezer slightly differently. Tani Reb Nasan, he says, Laisha Amar Reb Lezer, another Reb Lezer, you can finish the whole thing in the courtyard. Because you started Beheta, you can carry on. No. Reb Lezer says, you know what? Wait till Motzi Shabbos, or leave. You've got to leave the courtyard. You've gone in the courtyard, stop eating. Go back out. Then you can carry on. Not that you can just carry on regardless. But Yigmar. So either you have to wait till Motzi Shabbos, or you have to leave the courtyard. Right? Okay. Allah and Gimel. Right. Yain Truma. This is the sugya of Giloi, right? Leaving the liquids uncovered. Okay? We've all been waiting. I've been waiting for this. So the Chachamim forbade you to have drinks which are left uncovered. Because we're worried maybe a snake got to them, right? And there's a venom inside. So we're talking about what's the din of yain of truma, which has been left uncovered. Yain truma shenis gala. Now, of course, in time of Chazal, there were many snakes. They're worried about all these things. Maybe there's venomous, hakalas nefashos. You have to guard yourself. Nowadays, many Rishonim hold you don't have to worry about Giloi. You're allowed to have drinks which will be left uncovered. So passes Shulchan Aruch. Some say there are lands like Israel and Egypt where even nowadays there are snakes, and you should be careful. They say in the name of the Gra, he who gets all the dinim, there are many hidden dinim and many secret dinim in this. So don't think, there's no snakes, so I can drink. No, there's more to it than that. Yain Truma Shenis Gala, you should pour it out. You don't worry about Hefsed Truma, because anyway you can't drink it because of Sakana. Definitely Chulim wine, you left it uncovered, throw it out. 3 liquids is a problem if they're left uncovered. Water, wine, and milk. Other drinks are okay, because the snake doesn't drink that. How long must they be left uncovered for it to be forbidden? The snake can come from nearby and drink it. What's the share that it shouldn't be also? It should ruin basically the venom will get mixed up. Enough time that the venom, so how much water, when the venom gets diluted because of so much water, then it won't be forbidden. Rabbi Yossi, he says, Bekalim, water uncovered which is in vessels, kol shehein, even the smallest bits, even a very massive shear. With a karkois, if it's in the ground, a pit in the ground, is permitted if you have a boim. So if you have a share of 40 sa. Okay, according to the Tanakh, there's no difference between the kalim and the ground. You can be mevatel the eretz, be mevatel the venom. According to Rabbi Yossi, in the vessel, it can't nullify the venom at all. And what's in the ground, 40 sa, it can nullify the venom. Okay. So you've got a fruit which you've got a worry that maybe some venom has gone inside the fruit. So you've got figs or grapes, kishun, avatich, melons, watermelons, zilun, pumpkins, bluff on earth. These fruits, they look like they've got holes in, they're forbidden to be eaten. Even if they're very big, the weight of a kicker. Whether the fruit is big or small. Whether it's still connected to the ground or not. It's got moisture of the fruit, also it is forbidden the whole fruit. When the animals, the snakes, bites, Asura is forbidden, because it's dangerous, because the venom can affect something. So an animal, this is an animal, maybe an animal that was hit by a snake, bit by a snake, you cannot eat the animal. The filter for wine is also, so wine that was left uncovered, that went through a filter, is still also. Because maybe the snake drank a bit and put a venom, and the venom went through the filter. Reb Nachemia allows you to drink the wine. He says the venom doesn't go through the filter. Rabbi Yaakov he says a food that you cooked in water that's left uncovered, you should pour it out. Definitely chulin when you should pour it out. Our Mishnah tells us this. Wine of truma left uncovered, pour it out. We don't worry about truma. Definitely chulin, you should pour it out. If there was a solution by cooking it, why does the Mishnah say pour it out? You can just cook it. So you see from our Mishnah, cooking a liquid doesn't remove the venom. If wine was left uncovered, don't leave it, pour it straight away. We don't want to drink it. If it went and fermented of its own accord, also it's still forbidden. So figs and grapes that you've got holes in and maybe a venom went in there, also don't leave them. If they dried out melen, if they went and dried and shriveled and they become dry grapes, whatever mutaris they're permitted, it means there was no venom. Because had there been venom, it would stop them from drying out. Okay? Now in Bavli it says wine that's left uncovered, which has become chometz, fermented rather, there's no isogiloi, because there's no venom there. The venom won't allow it to ferment. The Bavli Yerushalmi are arguing on this. We say it can ferment. Okay. Right, let's carry on. The daughter of Reb the Great. She was making holes in the figs with kavana, to stop the people in the household eating. And that way they'll still stay with their father. So she put holes in to stop everyone eating. Her father ate from them. But less also, isn't it forbidden? I mean, things with a hole are to be eaten. For him it was done. Reb Chia knew that his daughter made the hole and that there was no snakes around. I feel again like it is not also like in Tanya, we not learn Rasi upon the gas potato. You see a bird making a hole in a fig, or a mouse. Also, you shouldn't eat it. We're worried maybe there's venom. And the open mokum on neckhead, maybe where there is the hole through the snake, maybe a bird or mouse ate. Basically, Reb Chia should worry maybe after the daughter made a hole, a snake came along and put a venom there exactly where the hole was. Why is he not worried the snake has put a hole? So one answers, after she made the hole, she would guard them. She made sure there was no snakes around. That's why he was allowed to eat them. Now, we learned wine is one of the drinks you mustn't leave uncovered. There are different types of wine which do not have an is of giloi. That which is sharp, amar and bitter, aromatic and sweet, there's no problem leaving it uncovered because the snakes don't drink these things. That which is sharp, amar, bitter, aromatic and sweet, there's no problem with yain nesach either. They're not considered significant. She explains achad is konditon, like this sort of honey drink. But hamar, that which is bitter, that's pistinum, the wine cooked with a sort of bitter herb. But hamasa, that's cooked wine. If Zidul, he had cooked wine, which was deposited in a guy's house. He asked him, is the wine permitted? He says, so he said, if it's cooked wine, there's no problem with Gilo, but Yain Mavushal, there's no problem of Yain Neser. Rabbi Yana Ishmael, Ivash, he was ill. Salkut Lagabe, Reb Zira went to visit him. Rabbi Shir, Rabbi Bakahana, Reb Chanania, Chabred Rabbanan, Ho Chachamim, Vakatze went to visit him. Chamon, they saw Shom Zidol Yosef, he was sitting there, Amr, and they say, Hamarash Wata. Oh, here's the one who said it all, Rabbi Yana Ishmael. He said the name of Shlokish, cooked wine is not a problem. Not because of Giloi, not because of Yain Nesach. But Amar Uvda. And here, look, the Balamaisim, Shabbat Zaydel. Now, his wine mavushal was in the guy's house. Ask him, let's go and ask him if that was the story. And that was the tshuva of Rish Lakish. Amalai, he says, Rabbi Yana ben Shmuel, Kain Amar Shem Lakish, Martak, you've got cooked wine, Ein Balem Shem Giloi, not from being uncovered, Lem Shem Yain Nesach, no problem Yain Nesach. Amalai Rav Zira said, to Dilma, Mida Elaine, maybe this was one of the dinim, to Shem ben Lakish, to Hachin. He was like, I wasn't sure. Yes, no. Right? Maybe he wasn't so sure about it. Maybe he never said it's halacha l'maisa. Amalei Rav Yana said, no. It was said l'uvda. It was said halacha l'maisa v'samchin alai, and you can rely on it. Kanachton, when they went from the house of Rabbi Yana, come Rabbi Ila in Rabbi Bun Bar Kahana. Rabbi Ila met him. He wasn't one of the visitors before. He met Rabbi Bun Bar Kahana, who was with him. Amalei, Rabbi Ila said to Rabbi Bun, Ilulei da'aton merachmin shmuasa, v'lo masnisi, were it not for the fact that you love the shmuas of the Amoraim, and this din of Lakish is learnt in a brisa. And he brings a brisa, the Tani Rav Chia, Yain bevusha shal goyim, wine which is cooked from goyim, lama, so why is it forbidden? Neishayat tzchilasa yain, it was wine of a guy. Basically, it was wine before it became cooked, and it's forbidden. And Chaim shall goyim lama, so why is vinegar of goyim asur? Shahem tzchilasa yain, before it fermented, it was wine in the guy's area, and then it became asur. It sounds like if it reached the guy after being mevushal, there's no problem of yain nesach. Right, he said this did, but we can learn it out from here that there's no problem yain nesach if it's mevushal. So the Gemara brings us support for this brisa. So as Nisam came for the Mishnah, we see this. Hayayin v'achayim shel goyim. You got the wine or vinegar shel goyim. Shaim v'tchilasa yain, which was wine, is also banav hayayin nesach, implying that if it reaches the guy when it's already vinegar, then it's mutabana. Right? Then there's no din of yain nesach in such a case. Rabbi Imi, he had guests. He says, were it not been for the fact that my cooked wine was uncovered, I would give you something to drink. Rabbi says, I see Manashal to bring it, and I will drink it. I'll drink it. I'm not worried about Yain Mavushal because of being uncovered. Rabbi said, someone who wants to endanger himself and go and die, let him die in his own house. He doesn't have to die here. I don't want to give him from my house something dangerous. But Ayudmi, he got a condition today. His honey wine got uncovered, left uncovered. Also Shalabon, also Chacham, and he said, also, it's forbidden. But like that if it's sharp, bitter, but muscle and cooked, so chad is this condition, and it seems there's no problem being it left uncovered. And you're saying it's forbidden. Rabbana de Kesri in the Chaim Kesaria, they said Batitos. Some say it can't be Titus because you wouldn't name someone after Titus, but it might be Titos. No, they allowed it. That type that they grind the pepper in a third of the quantity of the wine. But the one of Bayudni seems didn't have that shear. So if they had such spices in, and that affected it, so it didn't become problematic when it was left uncovered. They asked Rabbi, Yan Shani's Bashal Shani's Gala, cooked wine, was left uncovered, what's the din? Mao. Amaladi says, Karaina, even with Kariena, which is a type of sweet wine from the beginning, Tzricha wasn't sure, is there from Giloi? But Atzan Shan and Lin, you're asking me about cooked wine, which was not sweet from the beginning? So if Rabbi Yochanan wasn't sure about Kuraina, whether there's a Giloi, like Koshket Yaim a bushel, definitely cooks wine, there should be a problem with this Giloi. Now, one of the people come with the same question to someone else. Oh, Shah, someone asked a question to Rabbi Yitzchok. Amalei says, cooked wine which is left uncovered, also, it's forbidden. And in our Rabbi he remembered Rabbi Yochanan said clearly that cooked wine left uncovered, it is also, it is forbidden. Now the Gemara comes to a new din. There are cases where a snake is afraid to drink from uncovered liquids. Therefore they're not also. Rabbi Yaakov say, if the person's going in and out of the house, the liquids uncovered are permitted. Mutter, you can drink. The snake is afraid when you're going in and out. His barrel of wine was uncovered. Oh, Shali asked Rabbi Baba, what's the din? He says, if he's going in and out, then the barrel is mutter, is permitted. Now, another case where the snake is worried. If someone was sleeping near the uncovered liquid, mutter is permitted. Chadama once said Yashem, if it's near someone who's sleeping, mutter, it's okay, because the snake will be afraid. The Chadam and the other one said, Yashem, also, it's forbidden. We don't know who said what. Who forbade it, who permitted it. Mistabra, it makes sense. So Rabbi Chanina Yashin, Rabbi Chanina was the one who said Yashin is mutter. If you're sleeping, is permitted. The B'chol Asar, every place Rabbi Lazar Samach Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Lazar always would support Rabbi Chanina and hold like him. And since Rabbi Lazar earlier on held Yashin is mutter, it's logical to say Rabbi Chanina was the one who... so who's this? Yeah, Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Lazar always supported Rabbi Chanina. And since Rabbi Lazar held Yashin is mutter, then Rabbi Chanina must be the one who permitted it. Right? The reason why we allow Yain Mavushal, because it's so sweet, the snakes don't drink from it. Right? Okay. So Maskani says, with cooked wine, with Issa Giloi. In Bavli, it's brought the stam that there's no problem with Giloi. So passes the Rambam. In Bavli, it says there's no problem. Okay. Rabbi Yossi ben Shol, Mishtaya Holovda. He said this story. The woman loved mitzvah tzedakah. He loved doing charity. Her husband hated the mitzvah tzedakah. Once a poor man came along. A poor man, she gave him to eat. While he's eating, the woman noticed her husband's about to come in. She's worried he'll get cross that she's given food to the poor man. Yeah, I have to go at least. She hid the poor man in the attic. After a while, she gave food to the husband to eat. And now the husband ate, he slept a bit, he dozed off in the middle of his meal. A snake came along, he came and ate what was in front of the husband. And the poor man's looking from the attic and seeing that the snake is eating from the food. Mindita! Did that wake you up, Rabbi Son? Mindita, when he woke up. Come by me, the husband wants to carry on eating. And then the one in the attic started warning him, don't eat. The poor man is warning the husband, don't eat. The snake ate from it. Now the fact is, the snake was prepared to eat, even though the guy was sleeping. This tells me, Yashin, that if a person's sleeping, also, I'm afraid it doesn't help. It's still forbidden. Now, it could be there's no proof from here, because Barihava, maybe the snake was used to this house, and he was trusted in this house. So he wasn't worried about someone who's sleeping. Maybe usually snakes are afraid, but here, this one was a regulated home pet snake. Is this woman not forbidden to her husband because she's misyached with the poor man? The Quran says, well, since he's not suspect for this, he's not suspect for this. He's not suspect of murder. He actually saved the husband, so you don't expect him to do zinus either. Because those who are immoral often might do murder as well. So zinyafu v'dam b'dein. Yep. In Bavli, it brings a similar story, and then the Gemara asks, well, it's Pashut. He would want the husband to die, so why do you have to bring a prosuk? If he's really immoral, he would want the husband to die. And the Gemara says, no, stolen waters are sweet. Is that right? He might have preferred the husband to be alive and do the Aveira knowing the husband's alive. Maaseh, we have a story. Betabach with Tzipori, a butcher of Tzipori. He gave all insects to the Jewish people to eat. He drank wine, he got drunk. He went to the roof and he fell and he died. And the dogs are lipping their lips at his blood. And then Shabbos comes in. And they asked Rav Chanina, can we move on Shabbos from the dogs? Can we allow move a muksa before him? And he said, Sivi says, the nevela, the trefa, you can't eat, you throw it to the dog. Look at it. This person, he stole the dogs. He took away, he gave nevela trefa, right? He gave nevela trefa to Klal Yisrael. He stole the nevela trefa from the dogs. Therefore, Machel es Yisrael, he gave trefa to the Jewish people. Therefore, Arpunun, leave him to be did hiding and achlin, they're eating from their own. It's considered he belongs to the dogs because he took their food. He goes back to being their food. He was mezazah. He didn't care about leaving wine uncovered. As he got an illness, his body became very hot because of the venom in the wine. They saw him eating, lecturing on Yom Kippur. He had water to cool himself down. Something for a healthy person is absolutely forbidden. So he must have been pretty ill. He was uncovered for him a barrel of wine. He went on every Yom Kippur to pour out the wine. Someone saw him. He says, hey, give me to drink. He says, isn't not yain megula. How can you drink from it? He says, give it to me. And Hashem, who has the fast, he'll help me to shield me. Like Asper Mishteh Adis Chachal, he didn't manage to finish his drinking until it went the venom throughout his body and he died. Rav Yirmiyah Shem Rechev Barabah, Kol HaAsid, all the venom, Malin, B'chatotin, the other insects' venom, B'chatotin, they bring wounds in the body. The Eres Nachash Memis, but the venom of the snake can kill. He says, you have to assume that there is venom. You don't ask, is there things uncovered, is there a problem? You have to assume probably there is a venom there. You don't ask a shaila about giloi. You should be machmir out of Suffolk, right? Rav Yirmiyah, Shal Rav Zira, Marish Wasa. He went to Rav Zira, who sent these things over about liquids which are uncovered. And although Rav Yirmiyah Sha'aleh, he asked him what to do, Misnamne Rav Zira was showing himself dozing. He didn't want to answer his questions. Now the Gemara brings a story which happened to Rav Zira with liquids that are uncovered. Rav Zira have a Yosef Achil. He's eating Vaveshoi Davich. He starts sleeping. Oh, he's moving. Yad Yadei al Tamanta. He put his hand on the vessel called Tamanta to cover it so the Nacha shouldn't come and drink from it. He told his household, Adlikun Botzina, light a candle. Adlikun, they lit a candle. Vashkechun Shefofina. They found a type of snake, Shudoma Lesara, which is like very thin, like the head, like a hair. Karech Ale, that was around the vessel. Amalei said to the snake, Rashia, wicked one, had I not been careful, I put my hand on the vessel, otherwise I would have drunk from it. And there was a snake there. Right? Some say when he saw the fact that he put his hand on the vessel, it would not stop this snake to drink from it. He said, Russia, because you're so small, I wasn't so careful. Had we not lit the candle, I would have been stumbling. Rabbi said, you have to worry what people worry about. For example, please do not put money in your mouth. We do not know where that money has been. Don't leave food under a bed. There's rachra there on food left under a bed. Don't leave bread under your armpit, because again it's a smelly place. Don't stick a knife into a radish or knife into an esrog, because the sharpness of the knife is not noticeable and maybe a person will fall on it or sit on it. Because any sweat coming from a person, some others who can be poisonous, apart from sweat coming from the face. They asked Rabbi Yonasan a question about liquids uncovered. And he said, do you think I'm a guarantor for your soul? I have to warn you, don't endanger yourself? Rabbi Yanai said that they asked him about leaving things uncovered. If you're going to be lenient and drink, in kata shichar, if you benefit a bit, that there's no venom, you've only got something little. But in Ivad, if you've made the wrong mistake and there is venom there, Ivad, by God, you're going to lose the jewel. If you're going to end up losing and be harmed, you've lost the jewel, you've lost your soul. He said they asked him about Giloi. Had you sold yourself to the cannibals, right, who eat flesh? You would sell yourself for a bigger lot of money. And here, you want to eat a suffix, something which is left uncovered? You're endangering yourself. But Zamin Kalilin for a little price. Tadi, we learned in a brisa. Mayim shenis galu, water left uncovered. Lo yiravis behen. Don't start cleaning the floor with it without wasting your head. Lo yishmachem shuz rabbi, don't throw it to the street. Lo yashke legoy, don't give it to a guy to drink. Lo yashke legoy, don't give your animals, your friend's animal. Al mashke behemta, you give it to your animal. It's your money, give it to your animal. Other things you can't do. Mayim shenis galu, lo yashke behenes, that's it. Don't put the cement in there to make the cement, because maybe the venom will come on your hands. Don't wash vessels with him. Don't wash cups and plates. In various parts. Definitely don't wash your hands and face. They only forbade you to wash with water uncovered in certain places of the body where there's scratches and holes where the venom will go inside the body. Now there are other opinions. There are other places which have sirta. Part of Kasetem, your face is like a place with holes, like the ears and the lips. And Rasha's boys, the ends of your fingers, Yodav Raglov Kasetem, they're also very soft, and again, between the nail and the flesh. The venom left, the water left uncovered. Don't start making a dough out of it, because it will go in the dough, and if you make a dough and you bake it, you can't eat the bread. He said, I fear if you bake the dough, mutter you can eat from it. Because the venom of the snake disintegrates in the heat when you bake it. Rav Simon, he said, you can eat from the baked bread. But when the bread doesn't break up easily when you hold it. If it breaks up easily, also it's forbidden. That's the sign the venom is still very strong. Now, everyone agrees you leave water uncovered, which was heated, you can't drink from it. What's the difference between water and bread? He says, with baking, the fire is strong and destroys the venom. But heating water, the fire doesn't destroy the venom, and the reason is with heating water, the vessel the water is heated in, masik, is a gap between the venom in the water and the fire. But the baking ain't akeli masik. You don't have a vessel in between the venom in the bread and the fire in the oven. Now the Gemara brings the view of an Amira who was lenient with water that was uncovered, which was heated. What's this snake going to do? This wicked snake? How can it harm me? I'm only drinking hot water. From here we learn in the cold water left uncovered, which has become heated, mutarin is permitted. Rav Chanina said, this snake, Data Nikia, it's a bit choosy in what it does. It doesn't drink hot water that's become cold, because it knows, the taste has changed through the fire. From here we learn, if it's hot water became cold, mutarin is permitted because the snake is not going to drink it. I bring another opinion. Whether cold water which was heated later, or hot water which cooled down and is now uncovered, also you're not allowed to drink, because it could be there is a venom in there. Masnisa Messiah, the Brisa supports the view of Rabbi Yochanan. We said chamin, hot water, kozman shehed malin hevel, when they produce steam, re'elu mutarin, they are permitted because of giloi, the snake is worried to drink it because of the steam, And it sounds like if it stays uncovered even after the steam stops, it is forbidden. So yeah, if it stays uncovered, then it will be forbidden. We've also learned of a maima megulin, cold water uncovered, even though you heat it up, but elu asurin, they are forbidden because the venom doesn't go away through the heat. Okay. Now, how are we doing? We might stop here. Let's see. No, speaks again. Okay, which few more lines. Make kavoshin, water the vegetables have been pickled in. And may shalakos, water the vegetables have been cooked. May tomusim, water that these beans have been cooked in. Arayela, they're permitted if they're left uncovered, because they have a strong taste from the vegetables, and the snakes don't drink it. Ma'im shediach ben kavoshin of shalakos tomusim, water you wash these beans and things. Arayela, so it is forbidden for giloi. But since only a tiny taste of the vegetable, the snake will drink it. And water you washed grapes and other types of vegetables. Uvshin is I can't remember what uvshin is. Grapes that are not ripened well. Then you do it for a sick person. If they're uncovered, also it is forbidden. Okay. I think we will stop here on my side.